Williams is an entrepreneur, speaker, coach, and author with 20 plus years of experience developing emerging and experienced leaders. She works with groups, individuals, and organizations to amplify their authenticity and empower them to become better versions of themselves. Miriam is also the author of Remind Your Mind Who's Boss, and the upcoming book, Faithfully Fierce, How Biblical Women Rocked Leadership. She lives with her husband and son in Cottage Grove, and she is here today to talk to us about something we all want, which is work-life balance. Welcome, Miriam.
I've got a handout for you instead of a PowerPoint. I know that's terrible. But
And you can feel free to use the mic here too.
okay.
That kind of helps for everybody.
You can pass those in.
And if you stand under a speaker, you might get some feedback, but
Okay, I'll try to avoid that. Sounds good. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. I'm really appreciative of you all and this time to be together today. Thank you for holding this space for me. My name is Miriam Williams. I own a company called Ordered Soul, and as you heard, I clearly do a little of this, a little of that, and it's been a wild 20-year ride. I used to do this sort of on the side of my full-time job, but back in January, I was blessed with a layoff. And my life has not been the same since. As it turns out, I was one of those people who had gotten super burned out doing the standard, we'll call it 9 to 5. It felt more like 6 to 6, you know, by the time you get through driving everywhere. Here's what I can tell you. If you were hoping today for a work-life balance presentation where you learn to meditate more frequently and spend time with your loved ones because you have that time to set aside because of the things that I tell you in this presentation, you might find yourself to be disappointed. I just can't take it. Don't get me wrong, meditation has its place. However, it is not the strategy. I'm not sure if you're aware of it or not, but your plan for work-life balance has one fatal flaw, and we're going to talk about it today. Does anyone know what it might be? No, but I am glad that you said that because that is actually the fatal flaw. As it turns out, now I don't know if you knew this or not, but every single person in this room has the same amount of time to work with. Who knew that? Okay, so the problem with that being the foundation of your plan for work-life balance is that you can't get it. You can't get more time. All you can do is disperse your time differently, right? Time is time, okay? So when we talk about work-life balance, the first thing that I like to talk about is not time, because it's a moot point. It's your priorities. What I've come to realize and what I coach my clients on is that when they sit down at their desk, let's say in the morning, or if you're blessed enough to be retired, you're sitting having your morning coffee perhaps, and you're thinking about your to-do list for the day. How many of us have been there? Right, up in the right-hand corner on your sheet, you'll see that you've got a little to-do list, right? We write down all the tasks that we have to accomplish today, and we think about perhaps how much time each of those tasks will take, who you need to involve in completing those tasks, how difficult it will be or not, right? That's kind of how we go about the to-do list. What if you looked at your to-do list and said, you know what? Some things are important. Some things are urgent. Some things are both. But some are neither. When you start reworking your to-do list based on importance and urgency, you will find that, again, the time you have is the time you have. But not only will you be able to actually complete the things that you needed to complete, you will feel better about what you did. I don't know about you, but I have gotten to the end of a day and just felt completely wiped out. Like I have not completed a single thing, but I know I was busy all day, right? I know that I did everything on my to-do list, and I remember doing everything on my to-do list. I met with a boss. I managed to eat lunch that day. Ate it by myself at my desk, but hey, I ate it, that's progress. By the time the afternoon rolled around, I knew what I needed to do as I was, rounding up my day. If I was fortunate, I might have had maybe 5 minutes at the end of the day where I could write tomorrow's to-do list, right? But when I got home, I was just exhausted. And I said, why can't I get my life to be more balanced? I just don't seem to have time to do the things I want to do. I barely have time to do the things I have to do, and I'm not enjoying any of it. I'm not getting what I want to get out of me. I don't think my family is necessarily enjoying me right now. We got to fix this. So on your sheet, you can kind of see how your day starts. It starts with your head swirling with all of the things and knowing that you've got to have all these interactions with all the people in your life. You write the to-do list, maybe a little bit of panic sets in. Maybe it's not 5 items, maybe it's 20, right? And so as you go about trying to figure out what those items are, I would suggest, and this is one of the strategies that I use, try to figure out at least what category they fall into. You can kind of see the categories here on the left. There's your career, your health, family and relationships. And I will say, caveat about family and relationships, in here I am including all of the tasks that go along with that. So if you have to drop off somebody at soccer practice, or there's a hockey tournament this weekend, like all of that goes in there. We don't specifically call out the items that you need to do on this list, because this isn't about being task driven at this point. This is about acknowledging the things that you want to do for the people in your life, you included. Next, we talk about finances and personal growth. How many of you really consider that as part of your life on a day-to-day basis? Finances, I'm sure, right? You either have money or you don't, or you're trying to figure out investments, or you need to figure out investments. At my house, I know the big topic of conversation lately is about living wills and trusts, because every time someone passes away in our family, my husband and I have this conversation. We never have time to write those things, or at least we didn't until we tried these new methods. So take out a pen real quick, and I'd like you on this left chart where we have career, health, family and relationships, finances, and personal growth, on a scale from 1 to 5. 1, not feeling balanced at all, and 5, I've got this and could teach it to someone else. Write down your number for each of those, off to the right. And I'll give you just a minute or so to do that.
What comes in the career if you're retired?
Well, so if you're retired, it might be something like the obligations that you have during the day. For example, Rotary meetings, volunteer work, all of those things. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, 5 is good, 1 is bad. I know nobody ever wants to say that, but it is what it is. And I have to admit, while you're coming up with those, I will tell you where I am with at least one of these. So I would say about 2 years ago, my health was something I didn't particularly pay much attention to, took it for granted. It wasn't great, but I had made my peace with it being what it was. I have a condition called psoriatic arthritis, and so I had sort of made my peace with the fact that at the age of 50, I was going to move like a 95 or 100-year-old woman. And it wasn't a great way to live, but it was my reality at the time. But then, 2 years later, there were some really cool advancements in medications. And I couldn't take it anymore. I got myself into the doctor, and I took my health to a point where I feel like I'm much more balanced now. I'd say probably about a 4 or so, simply by prioritizing it for just that brief amount of time, right? Just within the scope of a doctor's visit. I had done something that I had delayed for about 2 years. You know, when you put it in that kind of perspective, I think that it really warrants some discussion, perhaps internally, about the things that we see being the way that they are, and sometimes just saying it is what it is. It may not have to be. But often, in terms of work-life balance, we can't see what's going on because we're in it, right? And so it wasn't until I went to a Bible study group with a guy who had psoriatic arthritis and was like, you should go see my doctor. I'm like, okay, I'm like, you're moving around pretty good, certainly better than I was at the time. And he was 70. I'm like, let me see what this is about. And within a month, totally better, right? It was bad. You know, I was doing that thing where, I don't know if anyone in here has ever experienced this, but you go to stand up and you're like, I feel like I can stand up, but I'm gonna have to maybe stretch a little bit, and this hip is not quite okay. Yeah, we're good, okay. I was doing that a lot, you know, at the age of 48, and it was really taking a toll on my body. I also didn't realize, side note on this, just how much the adaptation that you're making when you have arthritis to having arthritis really impacts the way that your body decides to function next. So for example, after the medication, I called my doctor up. I said, you know, I'm not sure about this. I'm feeling really good. I said, is this my imagination? Was it supposed to be instantly better after I took the medication? Because it really was within 24 hours of the first dose. And he's like, no, he's like, I told you, if you want to go out and play tennis today, feel free to do that. Well, it turns out my body didn't remember how tennis works anymore. So that's a different story. But I do have the scar on my face to prove it. I may have face planted. But it was like the happiest moment of my life as I laid there face down on the tennis court, thinking to myself, modern medicine made this possible. And now I'm going to the dentist. But regardless, so does anybody here want to share any of the areas where they're doing particularly well in terms of balance? Do we have some 4s and 5s in the room? Okay, good. Okay, yes. Okay. You have a 4. Which category was it? Oh, fantastic. Love that. That's awesome. Yeah, like I said, that started off very low for me, and then all of a sudden, balanced and well makes a big difference. Anybody else want to share? Yes.
I have a 4 in health, and part of mine is arthritis and other things, but Juniper is a program in Minnesota that especially seniors can sign up and get exercise programs, and that has helped amazingly. And I decided I'm in good health, which helps a lot. And then family relationships is a 5, because it's amazing as you get older and you realize the importance of the few people you still have left that you need to keep connected with them and all, and so that's a priority.
I love that. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't know about the Juniper program, so fantastic. Thank you.
Juniper.org, it's all called.
Oh.
Juniper.org.
Okay. Perfect.
And health insurance all want you to go there because they don't want to have the liability for you fall and hurt yourself.
Wonderful. Okay. Anybody else want to share? Yes.
Yeah, I've got a 4 in personal growth. That's something that I've been thinking about a lot, and all of my students used to know that I would tell them about metacognition, thinking about thinking, so that they would, instead of trying to have a snap reaction to something, I say, no, when you're studying, just think about what your brain is doing. So that's what I'm doing, and trying to think about how am I doing this? Am I doing this better? And I'm dividing up my time between 2 two nonprofits, so, and I'm the board of two nonprofits, so that's part of that personal growth.
That's wonderful. Mostly what I really love about that story, I'll just pick on you for a quick second, is I love that your personal growth is so involved in other communities, right? So it grows you, but working with boards, right? And it also grows other people around you, and that's a wonderful thing. And it's great that you're able to have time for it. So when we're taking a look at work-life balance, one of the things that I would encourage you to do is to prioritize things that you enjoy wherever you can, right? So for example, I used to be a person who really valued being able to journal while I was at work. It was not something that I wanted to do at home at all, but I felt that it just kind of helped kind of decompress during my day to do that. But I kind of needed to be at my desk in order to do it, so I prioritized it. It made my days a little bit less crazy. It made me a little less crazy. But as we're taking a look at this topic of work-life balance, one of the things that I mentioned earlier is this need to make sure that we think about things in terms of their importance and their urgency. And what you'll see over here on the right-hand side, under Let's Fix This, is a different way of writing your to-do list. Now, this is a way that works either with your to-do list for a day. It can work as your to-do list in terms of life planning. It really does depend on, just whatever you need it to look like. I would recommend, however, if you're going to do this exercise, to either stick with one or the other at any given moment. Don't start mixing them up, because you will overwhelm yourself in that case. But let's take a look at the grid. Up in the upper left quadrant, you'll see that those are things that are going to be very important, but not necessarily urgent. Think about that for just a minute. How often do we confuse those two terms? Right? We think that something that's urgent has to be important, or it wouldn't be urgent, right? Nope. And because people mess this up so frequently, my clients included, at the bottom of the worksheet, you'll see that I've actually given you what the difference is. You'll notice that things that are important, they do tend to be some of your more long-term goals, whereas things that are urgent tend to be things that have to happen right now. So if it's got a deadline to it, it's probably urgent. If the deadline is 18 months from now, it might not be important yet. You see the difference? Okay. So think about your to-do list for today. How packed is it? Or did you get everything done before this meeting? Okay. Think of 3 things on your to-do list right now and see if you can try to map out where they belong on the quadrant. I am curious if anyone ends up with something that is high importance and high urgency, because it's already 1:05. I'm hoping, is there any chance it already happened? Okay, good. Partially, okay, perfect. Yeah, I tend to, there's a lot of things that I'll do outside of here. For example, my meetings with clients, I will put as important but not urgent because they happen throughout the day. But I will put preparing for those meetings as high importance and high urgency. Because I know that if I don't get my prep work done early, I'm not doing prep work. It's just the way my mind works. It's also the way my day goes. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm just, like I said, I've got the same amount of time to work with as everybody else. So take a couple of minutes, write down a few items from your to-do list and see where they fall on the quadrant. So how are we looking? Does anyone have everything as highly important and urgent? Okay, good. That's good. Every now and then I'll have somebody who's 100% sure that everything belongs in that quadrant, and then we go off and have coaching sessions about it. The challenge with using this quadrant system, this quadrant style that I've shown you, is that there can be a little bit of a tendency, and I know nobody in this room is really going to be in this boat, but it's worth a mention. Sometimes people procrastinate. Is anybody in that boat? Okay, so just because it's not urgent doesn't mean we still don't need to do it, right? We do need to do it. If it's something that you find unpleasant, do it quick, real quick, right? If there is a time of day when you work your best, that is when you do that thing. For example, I'm a morning person. I will do most of my prep for clients during the day. I will finish before 9 a.m. because I just can't. I can't sit on it. It's too important to them that I show up my best, right? It's too high stakes for me. I can't sit on it. But if you have tasks that you're not real excited about doing, do them early or whenever your peak time is during the day. And if you take a look at how your day is going after a couple of days of trying this new version of the to-do list, one of the things that you will see is that while you don't gain any time back because it's all time that you had before, right? You will find that it feels much less like you're running from one thing to the next, like just bouncing around, right? And you will start to feel a little bit more calm and settled in your day. You will find that, yes, if you want to meditate, you now actually can do that without being interrupted because you don't have all these tasks floating around in your mind, right? You know what your day looks like and you've planned for it. This doesn't always work for people who need to bounce from one thing to the next. Like if that's just your style and your general method of operations, then go ahead and do that. But for people who are interested in finding ways to balance work and their life, the bouncing around just doesn't work for them. So this is just another method that you can try. The other thing that I will say about most work-life balance things that are out there, and the reason why I chose to show you this in particular, is because you'll notice that list that was on the left where I had you tell me how balanced you were feeling in each of those areas. The top one is work, right? But we frequently lump these 4 areas together as life and then wonder why we're overwhelmed. Okay, I'll say that again. We lump these 4 things together as one and wonder why we're overwhelmed. Even the notion of doing it that way suggests that overwhelmed is the only outcome you can have. And then we think about our to-do list. So let me see if I've got this right. I wake up thinking about my to-do list. I wake up thinking about work as one area and these other 4 areas as life, so I'm overwhelmed by that. And then I try to plan my day. It just doesn't set you up for a positive experience at all, does it? So give the prioritization method a try for at least a couple of days, see how it feels. But I can tell you that once I tried it, I've not gone back to the old way of doing things in years. And like I said, it even got better for me after I got laid off. So, because now I have all of the time that I need to do other things that I enjoy doing, like coming out and speaking to you all. So, on the back side of your sheet, you'll see that I've got a couple of holiday offers going. Ordered Soul, the company that I run, has 3 programs. One is called Burnout to Brilliance. It is based, this is one of the lessons that's within that coaching program. And so it's more of a personal coaching type of program. I also have a program mostly designed for mental health, but it is actually about decluttering your home and organizing it. If you've seen Hoarders, that is me. I will come to your house. We will take a look at a room or your whole home, whatever you need. We'll talk about what you think the problems are. We'll try to see if we can get you to part with any of the things that don't serve you well. And when it's over, I take it with me, so you will not be tempted to go through any of the things that you have said you would part with. And so that's my Chaos to Calm program. The last program I want to mention is one that is specifically for nonprofit leaders. It is called Generational Impact Blueprint. And in that program, it is focused on helping nonprofit organizations go from flat to funded. So the entire program is driven by the organization's need to fundraise. Not every organization quite knows how to do that. And some find that they need a blueprint that they can follow and replicate in order to prepare for coming years. So that program too, I really enjoy doing. It's been a very popular one in the Twin Cities. And so if you're interested in any of those things, please do feel free to let me know. There is a business card on the table by the coffee pot. And down here at the bottom, you'll see that you've got 2 QR codes. On the left, you can schedule a call with me. You just land right on my calendar in Google and schedule yourself for a call. And on the right, if you're still not 100% sure what it is I do every day, there's a life care check-in quiz that you can take. They'll kind of walk you through some of the challenges that you might be having. And if you get to the end of that quiz and you're like, uh-oh, maybe I should call, then you can go ahead and schedule a call with me. But thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate this opportunity to be here, and I hope you have a great afternoon.
Tremendous, thank you so much. Can I have you step up here by the podium?